So in order to do that, a teacher must find out what works best in a particular situation in his or her classroom. And for that to happen, personal reflection is the core. So we need to act on how teachers change their teaching strategies to enhance learning. And to do that, we need to conduct research in the classroom. And the minute we talk about research, this will come into our mind, empirical studies. All right? And classroom action research is somewhere between personal reflection of a teacher and a formal educational research. All right? And my first few slides, I'll talk a little bit about educational research, because most of us, when we talk about research, we think about the kind of research that we do for master's, PhD, and sometimes that can be a source of fear in doing action research. So the idea is to see that action research is not, the idea is to see to what extent action research is similar or different when compared to educational research, so that we address the phobia before we proceed to the following ideas. All right. So a quick one, the purpose of action research: to build reflective practitioners, making progress, building professional cultures, in the sense that we want to build a professional learning network. We want to professionalize teaching, because teaching is a profession. We want to enhance motivation. We want to meet the needs of increasingly diverse student body. This is a general one. Now, so, okay, so what about you? Are you ready for this? Shall we continue? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Okay, so now we're going to start with a little activity. I think I got to admit this person. Okay, now. Hold on, I think I am using not the recent slide. Hold on. I think I've saved it elsewhere. Hold on, just give me a minute. Okay, this is the correct one. Because I saved in my external drive and also in my desktop. The desktop one is the most recent one. I'm so sorry about this. All right. All right. All right. So we're going to start with the first activity. Now I'm going to share this article in the chat. Just have a quick read. It's a paper that I wrote way back in 2019. And then what you all need to do is, okay, I posted in the chat. I actually have the article. I can share it with you, but I don't think so. I can put the article in the chat. So I've shared with you the link. Now, what all of you can do is scan through the article, because we don't have much time. scan through the article and try to read. Look at things like, from there you'll see the purpose, the design, the format, what's been discussed in that article. It's a very simple article. And then try to fill in this Venn diagram, whereby fill in the characteristics of action research only here, characteristics that fit into both educational research and action research in the intersection area, and characteristics that fit only educational research in this third area. Now, the article may give you some of the information that you need. The rest, please use your personal experience, your own knowledge on what you gather AREs or EREs, and you fill this up. It's a 10 to 15 minutes activity. Is that okay? Is that okay?
Yes. Yes, Doc.
Okay, so just glance through the article. The article is to give you the first impression, all right? Just to read through, but focus more on the elements of the study and also the elements of reporting action research. So as you do that, you may get some information to fill in this Venn diagram. The other information may come from your own knowledge, your own personal account, all right? And then we will discuss before we proceed to the following slides. So 10 to 15 minutes, it's 11:20. We will discuss at 11:35, right? Please scan through. We don't have time to read the entire paper. Is it okay if I admit all these people? Is it okay? Can I admit? Okay, right. Okay, all right, okay. Are you able to access the article?
Yes, Doc.
Yes, okay, right.
Ano ko yung costume ko sa Lunes? Hindi ko alam. Halloween? Oo daw. Ah, bakit isuotin mo yung kahit... Hindi ka, huwag na nakaka.
Okay. If you think you're ready, we can start with the discussion. Even though we still have got another 10 more minutes, if you're ready, we can start. Would you like to start the discussion? Or do you still need more time to read or scan through? You need more time? All right, another 5 more minutes then. All of you are very quiet. All right, come. Let's just start with those of you who have ideas to contribute, please contribute. Let's look at what do you think is educational research? Can someone share? Okay, maybe we can discuss. Anyone? Anyone? Yes, yes, please, please. Yes. Check. Okay, it follows IMRAD format. What is IMRAD format? APA format, journal format. Yeah, it follows the format of an empirical paper, an academic paper. Okay, that's educational research. What else? Anyone else? You can give your answers for any one of these 3 areas. Okay, very good. ER is issues seen in the teaching environment. Very good. teaching environment, the general teaching environment. Whereas AR is on, anybody? ER is on general issues that can be applied in a bigger context. Whereas AR is only meant for the students in the classroom that you're researching on. You cannot generalize it. Okay, very good. Anything else? Very good. AR answers specific classroom research questions. Yes, and I'd like to add one more word. AR answers specific classroom, your classroom issues. Good for small group or sections, very good. Very good. AR is more reflective than scientific. ER is more scientific. In fact, for ER, if you take the quantitative research design, it is less reflective. All right, AR is more reflective. ER is more empirical. Okay, very good, very good. Okay, ER, yes, problem solving, analysis, interpretation. All right, very good. Anything else? Okay, so far we see a lot of ideas on what is AR. Yes, findings of AR are used immediately in the classroom situation by participating teachers to improve. Very good. ER uses primary sources, true, but more of primary sources, very, very few of secondary sources. All right, very good. Yes, AR is more on improving teaching learning process, both looking or solving problems. Good. AR, yes. Okay, professional development. Okay, all right. Okay, okay. So this, okay, good. All right. Anything else? Any characteristics that fit into both AR and ER? Whether it's AR or ER, we need evidence, which is the data, to support our research questions. So we need evidence or data. But for AR, the data is more reflective. It can be more of qualitative observation. ER, it is more scientific, more empirical. All right? I think I'm missing a lot of points here. Okay, AR aims to create a project. Okay. Investigate to solve problems, improve professional practice in the classroom. Very good. Yes. Both draw on students' feedback for designing quality lessons. AR is more, uses more of students' feedback, okay, for designing quality lessons. ER, as someone pointed out earlier, it is more scientific in nature. All right. Okay, I think this is very good, a very good start. AR is analytical compared to ER. I think it's the other way around. ER is more analytical, right? AR is more reflective. And then interactive teaching and learning to produce more innovations. Okay. Okay, solve school problems, our classroom issues. All right. Okay, so with that said, I would like just add one more. AR, we cannot generalize to classrooms that go beyond the classrooms that we are investigating. We cannot extend it to students who are not in our sample group. Whereas ER, it can be generalized. All right. So thank you very much. This is a very good sharing. Thank you so much for those who have participated and contributed. Now, based on our discussion, this is a very simple comparison. For ER, we need extensive training. Okay, that's why we take courses on methodology, statistical, data analysis, academic writing, APA. AR, we don't need that much extensive training. All right. Goals of research, knowledge can be generalized. AR applies to local situation. Our classroom, our students. Problem comes from identifying gaps from literature review, future studies from the papers they have studied. AR problems currently being faced in the classroom. Extensive using primary resources. AR It can be secondary sources, reflection, observation, log, journal, student feedback, teacher feedback, sampling, random, students in our own classroom. Research design, long time frame, looser procedures, changes during studies, quick time frame. And we control the data through triangulation, the validity of the research through triangulation. Measurements, you have to evaluate as pre-test, post-test, and all that. Convenient measures, we use test scores, we use observations from teachers, we get feedback from students, so it's less rigid. Data analysis, we talk about the inferential stats, can be qualitative techniques, thematic analysis. Here is practical. We need the data, but the data can be less rigorous, less rigid. Less rigid meaning we don't have to go into structural equation modeling, all right? But we still need to analyze our data. It can be the form of percentage, mean. We can even do thematic analysis, but we still need good data. We still need to analyze. We still need to show that our data is valid. And most of the time, to show that our data is valid, we triangulate our data through, it could be many ways. There are three main ways. I'll talk to you about it later. All right. Whereas here it's more into t-test, ANOVA, ANCOVA, and we go into SCM and we validate the instrument. It's very empirical, very scientific. Here we need theoretical significance. Here's more about practical significance. And as many of you highlighted, the aim is to improve teaching and learning process in the classroom. And then here we report it in an academic journal following the structure of that format. And here, sometimes we publish, and there are special journals just meant for action research. And sometimes it's informal sharing with colleagues during conferences, colloquium, even what we call teacher sharing sessions. So this is a big difference between ER and AR. But most of the time, because AR is also considered a research, and many of us here have gone through training in education research, when we are asked to do AR in our classroom, sometimes we have this phobia. Phobia because we think we have to do the action research like how we did our educational research. And that phobia is actually the main and the biggest barrier among teachers in conducting action research. That's why I feel that before we proceed, we need to break that barrier. We need to break that mindset that AR is not exactly as tedious as ER that we have done before. So are all of you okay?
Yes, Doc.
Okay, so with that, let's continue a bit more. A bit of a historical trail on action research. So what happened was that in the 1920s, there was a growing interest in using scientific methods to solve social problems. So Kurt Lewin, he's the person, came up with the idea of using research in a natural setting. So he coined the term action research to describe work that did not separate investigation from the action needed to solve the problem. All right, so he felt that the investigation and the action goes together. So the spiral steps composed of planning, action, and fact finding. Right? Then after that, Stephen Corey is the first person to use AR. In the 1950s, AR was attacked to be unscientific. Why unscientific? Because we talk about personal observation, students' feedback, data analysis not so rigorous. We don't talk so much about design. You know, it's more like a relaxed way of solving a problem, but still valid, and we don't focus so much on theories and all that. All right. So in 1970s, it reappeared. Why? Because there was this growing conviction of the irrelevance of conventional educational research, the practical concerns of teachers and schools. So we don't exactly need the scientific design of ER to solve the practical problems being faced by teachers. All we need to do is look at the issue that we want to solve, come up with an intervention, look at the data to see to what extent the data supports that the issue has been resolved. And then we make a reflection. And then we learn from it with the hopes that we have improved the teaching learning process. So far, okay? Or am I talking too fast?
No, Doc.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, so this is the one. So going back to the topics given to me, what is action research and the purpose? A quick one. So AR is systematic inquiry. It's still systematic inquiry carried out by teachers on teaching, learning process, or environment to gather data on how schools operate, how teachers teach, how students learn. All right, and I would like to add one more. How assessment can be carried out. My most recent paper, I forgot to share it here. Actually, I should share it here with you. I wrote about, I used action research design. I did action research in the classroom, but instead of looking at teaching and learning process, I looked at how teachers can use classical test theory to carry out simple assessment and to see to what extent the items that they've built is flawed or not. And I used action research using classical test theory. Because when we talk about classical test theory, it is supposed to be a very rigid, theory. But here, the idea is to show to teachers that we can actually use it in the classroom to investigate to what extent our items are quality items when we assess our students. I'm going to put that paper in. Maybe later on I will share it in the chat. All right. So what is action research? Carried out by teachers for teachers. All right. Why for teachers? Because as teachers, we also want to improve our teaching and learning. All right. So if we improve our teaching and learning, we are actually improving ourselves. All right. And we use it to find alternative or improve teaching methods specific to a particular environment, student, and context. So the assumptions are teachers and principals work best on problems that they have identified for themselves. They are more effective. They work better in a collaborative manner. All right. And working with colleagues helps teachers, principals in their professional development. If we don't get the advice or guidance from our teachers, that means our colleagues, who else is better to advise us, to guide us? For example, in my classroom, let's say I teach maths in my classroom, and I've got one issue. Who is the best person I talk to? Other teachers teaching in that classroom. So that is the idea of action research. Teachers help teachers to improve the teaching and learning process. All right. So I'm not going to go much into all this. All right. Right. Okay. So no research without action, no action without research. They go hand in hand. Right. All right. What is not action research? Yeah. Anybody can tell me what is not action research? I feel I'm talking a lot. I'm very worried that you'll fall asleep. What is not action research? Anybody? Anyone would like to share? Okay, never mind. Okay. Not usually comes to mind when we hear the word research. All right. So when you think about action research, we like to associate the word action research. The dominant word is research. So that is the phobia. It's not a library project. All right. So it means it's not a simple a 1-page, 2-page narrative. It still have got some elements of empirical study in it. All right. It's not exactly problem solving to find out what is wrong, but rather a quest for knowledge on how to improve. All right. Not about doing research on or about people or finding all available information on a topic, looking for the correct answer. We are not interested much about solving world problems. All right. Not about learning why we do certain things, but rather how we can do this better. It's about changing instruction to impact our students. Not about day-to-day decision making that teachers do. It provides teachers with a systematic process to reflect, consider options, implement, and evaluate potential solutions in a scientific manner. Okay? All right. So overview of action research. Teachers must be critical when examining their own practice and students' learning. Educational improvement within classroom. And there's a need to address the problem of practice. So generally what we are trying to say is that when we talk about action research, we are focused more on the practical aspect of solving an issue to improve our teaching and learning. And again, I would like to add assessment too. Right? Okay. So the goal of action research is for every teacher to improve their own practice in the classroom along with their students by addressing the problems with immediate solutions. All right? And whenever we do action research, even though it is meant to solve that particular problem in that particular classroom for those particular students, but the experience gathered and the lessons learned along the way helps us to solve a lot more other problems. Okay, we may be doing one action research, but the lessons learned in that process, in that journey, equips us to handle a lot more issues or problems. Right? So the basic themes: empowerment of participants, collaboration through participation, acquisition of knowledge, social change. So we need teachers to work collaboratively, right? So in conducting action research, we structure routines for continuous confrontation with data on the health of school community, right? Okay. So characteristics of action research: dynamic process of spiraling back through and forth using reflection, data collection, and there's action, right? Development of you see, for educational research, we collect data and we get our results and we answer back our research question, full stop. It ends there. But action research is a spiraling process, a dynamic process where we reflect, collect data, action. There is this element of action and reflection in AR, which is not evident in educational research. And in action research, there's more of practical significance. Okay, and we share the report, as I say, practical issues, and we look at teachers' own practices, right? And there's collaboration between researcher and participants. Okay. All right. Now, I was privileged to contribute a chapter in the Oxford Encyclopedia for Action Research. And this article I'm not able to share due to copyright issues, but we worked very hard in this paper, all right, where we looked at the action research practices in all the CMU member countries. So if I'm not mistaken, this chapter was like around 46 pages. So again, of course, I have the chapter, but due to copyright issues, I'm not able to share with you the article. But if any one of you would like to read, I'm putting the link so that at least one of you can, access and you can share or, among yourselves. A lot of hard work was put into this paper because we didn't just investigate the models of action research in one country. We looked at the 16 CMU member countries, including Philippines, Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei, all 16 countries. So please do, if you have a chance, please do get hold of this article. And I'm not sharing this article because for promotional basis. No, it's not, because the content is extremely comprehensive. All right. So this is something, this one has got a lot of, it's content-based. It's not a research carried out, but it's content-based. All right. So there are two general approaches to action research: participatory, practical. Okay. If you read the paper, we have included another 3 more models. All right. And types of action research, we've got individual, collaborative, school-wide, district-wide, and sometimes even nationwide. If I'm not mistaken, last month, there was this lesson study conference held, and some of these teachers actually presented action research using lesson study process. All right, so it can even be done on a bigger scale, okay, where the sharing is concerned. All right. Okay, so the 4-stage model proposed: planning, acting, developing, reflective. So I would like to highlight the 2 main things. Action, there's action, there's element of reflection in AR. Okay, because once we have collected the evidence from students, we have found the so-called solution. There's a need to reflect on our teaching practice. And that is what adds value to improving the teaching learning process. Okay, it's not exactly the results itself. It's the fact that you're reflecting on it that adds the value to it. All right. So this is from other scholarly work. Action research improves education by finding practical problems. Collaborative, I'm still repeating myself, participative, critical reflection, critical. Because sometimes we need to look and acknowledge our own weakness, our own limitations. And that's why reflection is important. Reflection is not merely descriptive, it is critical. You have to soul search yourself and find out, because sometimes we may think that the issue or the problem lies on the other side, but in fact, it could be within us. Like, for example, let's say, for example, in this session, I might think that I'm doing a great job, but perhaps the participants, you are quiet, maybe because I could be talking too fast, or my slang could be difficult to understand. So sometimes it's worth taking a step backwards and asking ourselves, what did I do wrong? How can I make it better? What have I learned? What must I continue? What must I not do? So that's why the reflection is to be critical. Okay, with that said, so far, are you all okay? Anyone would like to add before I continue? Is this meeting your expectation of this session?
Yes, Doc.
Yeah.
Yes, Doc.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Because I was given the topic, what is action research and the purpose. It seemed a bit too general, and I'm trying to simplify. But if it does not meet your expectation, and you are here hoping to get other types of information, please do let me know. All right. Okay. So there are 4 main purposes of action research. Identify problems related to education, development, and testing solutions. That means in AR, apart from identifying the issue that we want to research on, which has got practical significance, we also need to develop an action plan. And sometimes action research benefits pre-service teachers more, but that does not mean that it's not helpful for in-service teachers. Action research actually contributes a lot to continuous professional development. Because as long as we are teachers, we need to continuously reflect and improve our teaching learning process. Because how we were taught, we cannot use it to teach our students, and how we are teaching now cannot be used to teach students, let's say from 10 years from now. So we need to catch up the changes in the educational, what do you call, the trends in education, and to meet up or to be at par with that, with those changes, we need to continuously learn. And what better way to learn than to look at our present teaching strategies and improve on it. All right. So it's professional growth for in-service teachers. All right. Okay. So reasons to do action research. It helps teachers to be reflective, to build reflective practices, gives us new ideas, allows us to innovate our teaching strategies. Okay, sometimes it helps us to think that, hey, if I use this way, maybe it will work better. So we are actually innovating our teaching strategies, helps us to build our confidence, contributes to professional teaching culture, positive change in students' performance. All right. Okay. Fears and challenges. All right. Okay, let's have a quick 1-minute sharing. Any of you face any fears or challenges when you're told to do action research in your classroom? Anyone? See something in the chat. Okay, what are your fears? Anyone can share, what are your challenges? When you're told, when let's say, for example, I come to you and I say, okay, all of you must do 1 action research in the classroom. Automatically, what kind of fears come into your mind? What are the challenges that come across your mind? Anybody?
Privacy.
Sorry?
Privacy.
Privacy. Privacy in what sense?
Could be the privacy of the students you're doing research on, or you're doing action research on.
Sorry, privacy of the students you are researching on.
Yes.
Okay, so that is your fear. All right, okay, fear. All right, privacy of the students. Lack of support from parents, especially in pandemic time. Okay, so you feel that during the pandemic, you may not have support from parents, and the outcome of the study has been found. Okay, so that is your challenge when the outcome of the study has been found. I don't exactly understand. You mean you fear about the results that you might find from your action research? Is that what you mean? Okay, we'll just wait for a while. Any other fears? When you're told to conduct action research in a classroom, what kind of fears do you have? What are you afraid of? Yeah, very good. Time management. Yes, we fear that we won't have time. We are teaching, we are doing clerical work, we got so many things to do. We need to finish our syllabus, and here you're asking me to do action research. Time management. Very good. Okay, what else? The truth. The truth. Okay, yes. Maybe we are afraid of what we might find out. What if the results indicate that it's not the issue is not from the part of the student, but from the part of the teaching of the teacher, the teaching. Very good. Overthinking, yes. Knowledge of the approving authority. Okay, all right, yes, correct. So, yes. Challenge in gathering data, yes. Okay, we are challenged by the fact that we have to gather data and how to collect the data and the process of gathering data, lack of support, budget through collaboration issues. Yes, very good. Okay, now you're picking up. Good. So these are challenges. Lack of conceptual knowledge. Yes, so it's more of some of us, when we are asked to conduct action research, we automatically think of educational research. So we feel that, oh my God, I do not know ER. So we relate AR to ER and we get worried. Okay, I've been missing a few good ones. Okay, lack of time, resources, yes. When the outcome does not meet the goal, correct. Fear of any uncertainties of work, all right? Okay, yes. Sometimes we're also worried about the implementation process of doing that research. Okay, we feel that we are not sure, is this the way to do it? Because in our head, we always associate AR to ER. They are similar, but sometimes the fear of doing ER affects us when we're conducting AR. All right. Okay. Besides that, as teachers, what other challenges do you face when you're asked to do action research? Time management. What else? If I were to ask you, what's the biggest fear in doing action research? What will it be? The biggest number one fear. Fear of too much expenses in school. Correct. What else? So financial implications. What else? Your biggest fear. Human factors issues such as, is it collaboration? Human factor issues? Failure of the study, yes. Yes. Fear of being rejected, very good. Yes. Wow, okay, right. What else? Knowledge of the AR proposal, good, good. What else? Fear of change, yes. Sometimes from the results, we know that, okay, this is the change I need to bring in. The fear of change is very scary. We all are very happy in our comfort zone. When we need to change, that's very, very scary. When the tool is invalidated or need to be revised, it takes time again. Okay, right? But remember, AR, we don't exactly look so much at the tool. For ER, yes, the instrument needs to be validated with the Cronbach alpha, high Cronbach alpha, that kind of thing. But AR, remember, it is less scientific in that sense. But again, you are right. Sometimes the fear of the kind of questions we ask may not be the right questions, correct? Yes, additional workload. Yes, withholding the truth. Okay, good. Workload, time management, because we feel that our core business is to teach. So when we do all these things, it takes away the precious time. Very good, very, very good. Now, at this point, okay, this is another article. Now, we don't have time to read this article, but I'll share the link now in the chat. This is a paper I wrote on the barriers faced by Malaysian teachers in conducting action research. You can have a look. I'll put this in the chat. So remember, at the end of the day, action research, you can definitely conquer your action research, the fear of action research, of doing action research. All right, so I'll just put this in the link before I forget. So have a look. It might add more perspective to what we have shared just now. Okay? Sorry. Should be to everyone. How can I paste it? Strong. Interesting. All right. Okay, so it's in the chat. Please have a look. All right. Because I just want to finish. Sorry, 12:04. All right. Okay. All right. So these are some of the changes that challenges that we spoke about just now. Making time, sources, fear of change. All right. So the way to go. All right. From can't, it can be a can. All right. So let's conquer our fear. Right. So this is the design. We identify a focus, collect data, analyze, interpret, develop action plan. Along the way, can you see? It's spiral. It's not a linear process. Okay, sometimes we get the focus, we collect data, we reanalyze the focus, it can go anywhere. Okay, so main thing, again, I'm highlighting, there's action based on data, there's reflection. Okay, these are the two main elements in any action research. Okay, so steps to action. So we summarize the findings, okay, sharing, monitoring, creating timeline, right? Taking action is regular part of teaching through formative feedback, right? And when you talk about reflections, what were the intended, unintended effects of your action? Our intentions could be noble, but sometimes there's the intended and unintended consequences of our actions, and we need to look at it. Sometimes we don't see it, we're too blind to see it. When students talk to us, when we get researchers to observe, then they help us to see our blind spot, right? And what educational issues arise from what you have learned about your practice. So if you ask yourself these two questions, you're actually doing critical reflection, right? Okay, so this is one action research I did with my students this year. Okay, we looked at the structured problem solving in a Malay school. Okay, where the teacher used structured problem solving and the Bancho blackboard management in school to help students to enhance their mathematical communication. This was the most recent one done, right? All right, and this is from the results. The video, you can see it from here. I'll put it in the chat. This is the video of the entire action research that was conducted. You can have a look, but you may not be able to understand much because it's in BM, right? But in case you're interested, you can have a look, right? Here's my references. Any questions so far? Any questions so far?
None so far, ma'am.
Okay, good. Okay, I want to go straight into hypothesis testing. This was given to me too. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's look at hypothesis testing, yeah? Okay, now, okay, before we start, the earlier session on what is action research and the purpose, we said that action research is used for the classroom that we're researching on for the students who are involved in that group. Whereas in ER, we use inferential statistics to generalize the findings from the sample to the population that's representing the sample. All of you agree with that? Do we all agree on that?
Yes, Doc.
Yes, huh? Okay. So when I talk about hypothesis testing, I want you to remember this important difference between AR and ER so that I can lead you to the next. All right. So before we continue, let's look at what is hypothesis testing. All right. Now, what is hypothesis? Hypothesis is a testable statement for a possible outcome of a study. That means, in other words, a hypothesis is a scientific term and the layman's term is assumption. So when we want to test our assumption, when we want to test a statement, that becomes a hypothesis. So for example, the question could be, are boys more likely to bully than girls on the playground? So the correctly stated hypothesis would be boys engage in more playground bullying than girls. So we're going to test it. Does exercise help reduce high blood pressure? People who exercise have lower blood pressure than people who do not exercise. So we're going to test it. So when we talk about hypothesis testing, we've got null versus alternative. What is null? Null says there's no difference or there's no effect. Alternative says there is an effect or difference on the relationship. All right? So hypothesis can be non-directional, can be directional. All right? What do we mean by that? When we say now there's no differences, that means people who exercise and people who do not exercise have the same means, no difference. Non-directional would be people who exercise do not have the same, do not have the same blood pressure compared to those who do not exercise. This is non-directional. That means we don't say they've got higher or lower. We just say it is not same. That's it. Here it is same, here it's not same. That becomes non-directional. Directional is whereby here we might just say higher or lower. That means people who exercise have lower blood pressure than people who do not exercise. That is directional. So you get me? Are you okay so far?
Yes, Doc.
Okay, all right, okay. Sorry if I sound a bit boring. So the whole idea is we want to reject our null through testing. So either you reject null or we fail to reject it. There's no such thing as accepting the null. I think all of us know that. So we reject null or fail to reject null. We fail to reject null, we accept the alternative hypothesis. Okay? Okay, so now let's stop for a while, reflect and discuss a bit. To what extent hypothesis testing can be applied in action research? I want you to think about this. To what extent hypothesis testing can be applied in action research? To help you, to help you in your discussion, I want you to think about the purpose of hypothesis testing that I presented just now. and the purpose of action research that we did at the beginning of the session. All right, 30 seconds, and then we can have some sharing. So the main question is the applicability of hypothesis testing in action research. So to help you get the answer, try to ask yourself, what is the purpose of hypothesis testing? What's the purpose of action research? Then check and see to what extent hypothesis testing can be applied in action research. Right. Anyone wants to share? Can I hear some views? I'm like an excited girl, you know, waiting for my Facebook friend to reply. When I look at the chat, I get very excited. Purpose of hypothesis to test, prove, answer questions in mind. Okay. So do you think hypothesis testing is applicable in action research? To what extent is applicable? Can be applied through AR as basis for finding new intervention and solution. Okay. So she says can be applied. Okay. All right. Any other answers? To what extent? Right. Any other answers? Anyone else wants to share? Anyone has got something to say? Maybe I can call some people. Okay. Forgive me if I pronounce your name wrongly. What about Sunshine? Is Sunshine here? Okay, making clarifications, explanations to the problem. Okay. So do you think hypothesis testing is extremely important in action research? Can we conduct action research without doing hypothesis testing? Is it possible to do an action research without testing your hypothesis? Is it possible?
No, ma'am.
No, no, you need hypothesis testing.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, all right.
We need to hypothesis because we give the significance of the relationship of the data, what the data come up, and we need to define what data is.
Okay, all right, okay, all right. Any other answers? Okay, so Craig, you are agreeing with me, is it? Are you saying that we don't exactly need hypothesis testing in action research? Is that what you're saying, Craig?
Yes, ma'am. We can actually do action research without hypothesis testing. Because the concept of doing hypothesis testing is actually, hold on. The concept of making a hypothesis testing is you have collected the data from the sample and you want to generalize what you see in the sample data to the population where the sample is actually taken. But in doing an action research, we can just explore that one. We can have a small population and we can collect the data from that small population. And we don't need to use hypothesis testing. So I have presented that earlier in my talk, and then I saw that one in your slide, that we collect data from the sample because the population is so big. And it is impractical for us to collect data from that big population. So we use sample. And from that sample, we're able to collect data, but we don't actually look at the data within the sample per se, but we look at that data in comparison with the population where that sample is actually taken. And our objective is to generalize what we see in the sample to the population where it is actually taken. And that's the concept of hypothesis testing.
So you see, in action research, as we highlighted at the beginning of the session, our aim is not to generalize to our population. We just want to improve our teaching and learning. And it is, as someone did highlight, it's less scientific. But of course, we try to make it, we try to follow a good plan, a good research plan. And we still show that our data is trustworthy and our findings are valid. But because the purpose of hypothesis is, in other words, to generalize from sample to population, and it's more useful for inferential stats, action research is more of improving our teaching learning process. All right? We don't exactly need action research. We don't exactly need hypothesis in action research. But there are action researches whereby they do t-tests. They give students a pre-test, a maths test, then they do an intervention, and then they give a post-test, and then they look at the score, the t-score, the t-test. They look at the t-test. Then they claim that, yes, the scores are insignificant. To that extent, yes, it can be used, but it's not a must. So what I'm trying to say is that when you do your action research, you don't exactly need hypothesis. You really don't need to test your hypothesis. That's what I'm trying to say here. And I think Dr. Craig also agrees with me. All right. So how then do we proceed a bit more? I know this is not part of my the topic given to me, but I would like to pursue to one more idea, which is data triangulation. You see, most when we talk about action research, please remember that it's not ER. It's not empirical, too scientific. It's not that. Neither is it a loose research plan. It's neither nor that. It still follows certain acceptable research plan. The data must be valid. The findings must be trustworthy. Of course, AR has got the two added elements of action and reflection. So how do we show that what we are finding, what we have found? Let's say, for example, we use observation. We use observation sheet, and we take the observations and we analyze the observation. So how do we show that the data from the observation is valid? It's not just the researcher simply writing what he thinks he saw. So we use this method known as triangulation. So again, allow me to highlight this important point. You don't exactly need to test your hypothesis in action research. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. But you need to make sure that the data you have collected is trustworthy, is valid. And most of the time in action research, just like in some qualitative data, we use triangulation. So what is triangulation? One or more approaches to the investigation in order to enhance confidence in the findings. Right? Let me quickly go through this. Right, 1225. Why? We combine multiple observers, theories, methods to overcome the weakness. All right. And we want to obtain confirmation of findings through conversions of different perspectives, so that it becomes a credible reality. Okay, so triangulation can reduce effect of researcher bias. You see, as I was telling you, sometimes we are worried that when we make, when our findings are based on the researcher's observation, it could be because I'm writing what I want to see. So how do I confirm that it is really the truth? I do triangulation, all right? And there are many types of triangulation: data, investigator, methodological. So data, we gather data from multiple sources: observation, student feedback, field notes, teacher interview, maybe a test score, all right? Investigative triangulation, we use more than one researcher's qualitative data. And methodological would be different ways of gathering the data. It could be quantitative way, qualitative way, all right? So this is some of the added explanation on data triangulation, all right? All right, and this on investigator triangulation, right? And this is methodological triangulation. We use results from surveys, focus group, interview, feedback, written feedback, oral feedback, that kind of thing. All right. So how would triangulation affect credibility? It validates your data research by cross-verifying the same information. All right. Data has increased credibility due to the fact that multiple sources confirm the description. All right. And it strengthens the research and gives more insight into a topic. Right. If the findings of the different evaluators arrive at the same conclusion, then the credibility is escalated. All right. So please bear in mind that you don't exactly need to test hypothesis in action research, because action research, we are more focused on improving teaching and learning process in our own classroom, where action is important, reflection is a must. All right. But when you and another alternative to make sure your data is trustworthy, you do triangulation. And that is the point that I would like to leave all of you with. All right. We need to consider best practice to acknowledge bias, and element of reflection is a must in action research. So with that, I would like to end my session. And if you have any questions, please ask. I hope I've met your expectations. Any questions? This is, I see some chat. Okay. Okay, what I meant is that you don't need to write null. Null is okay, one issue. Mathematical communication is enhanced through blah, blah, blah. You don't have to write that thing. That's what I'm trying to say. Unlike for education research, every quantitative research question, you need to provide a hypothesis. All right. But for AR, you don't have to write that. You don't have to say there is significant difference in student score, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to write it out. We don't have to test it. Here, we are researching on the issue. All right. For example, we claim that mathematical communication enhances a higher order thinking skill. I do have to state using null and alternative hypothesis. That's what I'm trying to say. Is that okay? Is that okay? Did I make myself clear? Is that okay? Like for example, when you're doing pre-test and post-test in your action research, you administer an intervention, and you collect scores before and after, and you're doing t-test. So t-test, normally we have null and alternative. You don't have to write that in AR. Okay, that's one. Another one is, you don't even need, you can even produce an action research using purely observation, teachers back, students back, or using percent or mean and SD. So we don't need hypothesis there either. That's what I'm trying to say. But if you do, there's nothing wrong, but it's not a must. Unlike ER. ER, yes, you have to write it and you have to specify. But in telling you this, please remember, whatever it is in AR, the data needs to be valid. It needs to be trusted. That's why most of the time we triangulate the data. To me, triangulation is the more important, it's a must in AR, data triangulation. If not, it will look like I'm just writing what I think I saw, what I think is happening, what I think is being effective. So, and it may not be so. So triangulation to me is a must in action research. Anyone wants to share any other opinion or any other questions? Anyone confused? Yeah, it could be as descriptive, but the descriptive needs to be deep. Even though when you are observing, let's say, for example, when you're making observations, it needs to be like thematic analysis done properly, coding, things like that. It is still, there's still empirical evidence, all right? But you don't have to clearly say null is this, alternative is this. It's less scientific in that sense. That's what I'm trying to say. But you can, what do you call, do it, you can, but normally we don't. If you look at all these journals that publish on action research, I don't think I've ever come across any AR articles where they write their hypothesis. Yes. Yes, very true. That's what I'm saying. It's not a must. Okay, very true. I think Dr. Craig has responded. Yes. Yes. All right. But at the same time, sometimes some researchers take it too lightly, and it becomes like they're writing a story, a narrative. It can be narrative, but there must be element of the data, the element of credibility. And how do we show the element of credibility? Triangulation. That's what I'm trying to say here. Okay, it's not too rigid, neither is it too loose. Okay. All right. So any other question? Dr. you have something to say?
Yeah, I agree with you. No, I agree with you that this actually a difference, and it would actually be depending on how the researcher would design his AR. Will it be in a very simple one? Like in my case, I did an AR with just one respondent, one subject, but the data collection was so intensive, and then I did triangulation also. And then when I did the exploration on a regular absentee, I noticed that that student was a regular absentee, and it caught my attention. So I did an action research for that. There's only one. So why should I provide a hypothesis testing? The issue is only for that student. And I cannot generalize that one to the entire class because the issue is only for one of the many students that I have. That was just the issue for that student. But I did an action research. So there's no need of having a hypothesis testing, but what you are going to do is, what's the purpose of your action research? Then design some questions on how to collect data, and then how you are going to present the data, make an analysis, then do the interpretation, and then since I was the one doing it, I have to apply triangulation so that I would be more objective in my analysis and interpretation. So I asked someone on how did this expert look up into the data that I have collected. I had the findings, but I let other people check that one, validate that one, so that I could come up with a more objective finding with that just very simple action research. So it's good to have data triangulation and even finding triangulation so that we are actually able to come up with objectivity, objectivity of our AR, as well as the research findings. I agree with you, no?
Okay, all right. So any other question? All right. So with that note, I would like to thank all of you. And I hope this session, in a way, met your expectation. And I would like to apologize if at all I did not meet your expectations. All right. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Canagas. Just would like to ask, are you still working at Rexham, Penang?
No, now I'm attached to University of Utara, Malaysia.
Okay. The one in Penang, is it close to Penang?
The one in Kedah.
Okay. Because I have gone to Rexham, Penang,
really?
many times.
When did you come?
2015.
25th of June.
2015, 2017, and then 20.
Oh, so if you come down there, maybe you can text me. I'll meet you there. My hometown is there.
Yeah, sure.
You can meet.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll send you an email this afternoon.
Oh, sure. Sure. You have my email, right?
Yeah, I have that in your slide.
Okay. All right. Just to let all of you know, Dr. Craig, I've got class from 3 to 6, so I will not be able to participate in the this one section, the closing ceremony.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Go ahead.
Okay, right. Thank you so much. Okay, so take care, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Take care. Bye. Bye.
I'll send you an email.
Sir, naka-mute kayo.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Ma'am Queen. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. S. Canagaswari Sophie Shanbugang, for sharing with us your very rich discussion about action research, and also backed up with ideas and hypothesis testing and the use of triangulation that will enrich our action research research endeavor. That those information, those lecture discussion are actually very much helpful among those teachers, especially in the Department of Education, where they're actually encouraged to do action research in their respective classes or respective stations. In behalf of the Basic Education Math Teacher Society, I think that Dr. Kanagiswari Shanmugan is still with us right now. Let me read to you your certificate while you are still with us. Certificate of recognition is hereby given to Dr. Kanagiswari S. Shanmugan in grateful recognition and dedication, cooperation, and expertise as resource speaker during the International Seminar on Data Analysis in Action Research on November 5, 2022 via Zoom, given this 5th day of November in the year of our Lord 2022, Philippines. Signed, the President, Basic Education Math Teacher Society, yours truly, and we are going to send this to you, Dr. Kanagiswari, via email, and hopefully if we find time to meet you in person, we'll be handing to you the plaque or the certificate that we prepared for you. Thank you so much, and a round of applause to Dr. S. Kanagiswari Sophia Shanmugan. And now, it's already 12:40. We actually granted a request of Dr. Sophia Kanagiswari Shanmugam to have her talk extended until 1 o'clock actually. That's 12:40 to 1 o'clock. So at this juncture, we will be having our lunch break, and we will be back at 1 o'clock for the lecture of our third resource speaker, who is Professor Ray Ferdinand Gagani. Okay, everyone, you can let us have a lunch break, and also to give time to the secretariat to prepare some stuff in relation to the webinar. Thank you, everyone, and we hope to see you again at 2 o'clock, later at 2 o'clock for the third lecture to be presented by Professor Gagani. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy your lunch.
Thank you po. Enjoy your lunch.